Welcome to ASL Video 2. I know this has been a long time coming, so I apologize that this wasn't out sooner. Okay, so this video we are going to go over signs for different people, specifically titles of people in your family, and then I'm going to show you how to go through your family tree. If somebody asks you something about your family, brothers and sisters, or your own family, husband, wife, kids, how you would explain that to somebody and set that up. I'm going to explain that briefly here, and then if we have time, I don't want this to get too long, I'm going to touch on something I'm calling people space. So how you refer to somebody while you're talking about them, while you're signing. So I'll get into that later. All right, so start off here. The sign for male, this. Okay. Female, hand is like this, and your chin. It's female. Male, female. Man, this is a sign for male. You can also sign it for man, but typically you're going to see man like this. So your hand, this is the shape of your hand from your forehead to your chest. Man. Woman, from your chin to your chest. And I'm going to input here one thing. Any reference to anyone in your family that would be male is going to the sign itself is going to originate from the middle and upward of your face. So you'll see that as we go through them, and then female is from here and down. Just a kind of a general rule of thumb that's going to help you, hopefully help you remember. When you're thinking of, okay, how do I sign that? Just keep in mind anything referring to male or man is going to originate up here. Female is down here. So man, again, it starts up here. And woman. And then male and female. Okay, boy and girl. It's the sign for man. Boy is here. It's just repetitive, like this. Boy. Girl. Same as sign as female. Girl. Okay. So let's move on. I guess I'll show you the sign for people, too, since we are talking about people. You have the shape 2 Ks in your hand here, like this. Small circles going out, away from your body. People, if you can see that, people. Let's get into the family now. Titles for different members of the family. So sign for family, you've got 2 Fs here. Put them together, and then arch out. Away from yourself, or circle out, I should say. Family. So it's your family. Okay, your makeup of your family. You've got father or dad. It's up here. This is sign. Father. Or you can do this. Dad. Kind of wiggle your fingers. Father. Mom. Down here again. Remember? Male and female. So mom. Mom. Mother. Brother, L. You have 2 L shapes in your hand. It's going to start up here. Come down and meet your other hand here. Brother. Sister. You can also sign it this way. Brother and sister. This is more of an old sign. But I have seen Jim specifically use it before, so I'm just going to throw that out there so that if you do see it, you'll know what he's talking about, brother and sister. Son and daughter. Okay, starts, here's your hand shape, your other hand like this. Son. It's a sign for baby, so son. Daughter's down here, daughter. Okay. I'm going to try to that. See if I can get this a little bit better. There we go. Okay, son and daughter. Let's do wife and husband. Okay, this is a sign for marry. You're married to somebody. So, or I'll start husband. Starts up here, like that. And wife. Husband, wife. Okay. Grandpa and grandma. Alright, so up here for grandpa, you're going to go, I'll just show you this way. 1, 2. Okay, so this is like dad, grandpa, grandpa. Kind of do 2 pumps there. Grandpa. And grandma, down here, same thing. Grandma. Okay. Aunt and uncle. Okay. Aunt, this is your handshake. This is A. Going to be down here by your chin, because it's a female, again. Kind of just shake it here next to your chin. Aunt. Aunt. Uncle. You. Up here. Uncle. Uncle. Nephew and niece. Both of them, this is your hand shape. The difference is, again, going to be the position of it. So this is important to what I referred to before. So nephew up here, and niece is down here. Nephew, niece. Cousin is going to be a C, and this is going to be in the middle. Cousin. Alright, so now that we've got those basic titles here down, I'm going to show you how you explain your family to somebody. If someone were to ask you, are you married, or do you have kids, do you have brothers and sisters, what is your family tree? So, for me, someone asked me, well, I'll just show you what my family tree would be in relation to my parents, my sisters, and myself. So, I have a mom, my dad, and someone asks you, okay, how many brothers and sisters do you have? So, eyebrows down, this is a question. How many? If I've showed you that before. How many? Or you could just even start, do you have brothers and sisters? Brothers and sisters. Yeah? Eyebrows are up because this is a yes or no question. So I said, yes, I have 2 sisters. Okay, then I would go like this. I have 2 sisters. Okay. Oldest sister. There's Kendall. This is her sign name. And she's married. So married, finished. She's married. And she has 2 sons. And you can also interject here and go ahead with explaining them with their names, their ages. If you wanted to also, I could say 2 sons. Oldest is Theron, and he's 7. No, oh my goodness. He's not 7. So Theron, and he is 12. Okay. Then Bodhi, he is 7. Okay. So that's Kendall. Married. She moves away. And this is kind of a very deaf culture thing here, where if someone asks you about your family and asks you to explain, as I am here, about my family, my sisters, or if I had kids going through, I'm going to give a lot of information. I'm going to explain, she doesn't live here. Okay, so Kendall, she's gone. She moved away. She lives in Indiana. You offer information a lot. And the reason for this is one thing that's important in deaf culture, in deaf um, people and their how they communicate with one another is establishing these connections with one another. So the more information I give to somebody about my family, about each one, is the more they can kind of, oh, okay, they can kind of try to work to establish that connection. So specifically, if I'm the one relaying this information, I'm um, trying to do that with my oldest sister. I would be like, okay, it's Kendall. She moved away. She lives in Indiana, and I'd probably say her husband, this is his name sign, Edwin, is deaf, and he teaches interpreting program in Indiana. And it'd be a pretty well known school, I guess. So someone can try to grab hold of that and be like, oh, okay, I know where that is, or I knew someone who went there. Anyway, all that to say is you want to share a lot of information. I mean, some people kind of hold things close to home, and that's okay too. But you have to just kind of understand when you are with deaf people and communicating with them, if they start asking you a lot of questions, it's because they're trying to get to know you. They're trying to establish a connection with you, and that's a good thing. Kind of makes you feel like you're part of their little family or whatever. So anyway, you want to go and explain that. So I went through, and this is my sister Kendall. Kendall, I already said, okay, whatever. Then I'd say their sister, Taylor. She's married too. She lives in Tremont. And then I'd say me. I'm baby. Okay? Now, if you had kids, for instance, like, okay, Jess and Kels, because they have 4 kids, so go ahead and do them. You would go through and say, someone asks you, okay, yes or no question. Kids, this sign for kids. If I showed you that or not, kids, or children, kids. If I was Kelsey, I'd say, cool. Then that's when you go through, okay, James, this is his sign name. Finger spell his name. He's 7. Then Annalise. Ooh. She's almost 5. So she's soon to be 5. This is 5. Joel. Elijah. And he's 1. Okay? So this is how you're going to set people up. Depending on how many either brothers and sisters or kids you have, you're going to start here. Okay? 1, 2, 3. However many you have. And you're going to kind of go through them this way. Okay? So, I'll show you how to do that. And then when we get together, maybe this Saturday we can go through and maybe if we have time, because I know that's kind of a long thing, but go through and everyone can kind of explain their families or their kids if they want to. Can get some practice at that. Okay, so, and along in this category of people, the other thing I wanted to mention here is, okay, the ER at the end of words. Like, for examples would be like sinner or helper or preacher or worker. To add that ER to turn a word into person, if you will, like the word work, you do this, worker. This right here, this is the sign. If you do P's, here's the sign for person, or you can just do it like this, person. So if you want to change that sign again into a person, you add that kind, that's your ER, if you will, at the end. So worker, or this worker, I mean, how you would voice that would be like employee, maybe, you know. And sinner, so this is the sign for sin. We've talked about that, sin, help, sign for help, helper. preacher. This is a sign for preach, preacher. So there's some information for you. Okay, and then the people space. I kind of wanted to just kind of touch on a little bit. This goes back to how you would sign he or she. There is no sign for he or she. When you are talking about somebody in English, and you've already established who that person is, the example would be, okay, I use my dad. Okay, so if I'm talking to someone, I'll say my dad and my mom, they just got back from a trip. And they, again, the same thing with they, them, he, she. And then once I've already established that I'm talking about, okay, my dad, he just got back from a trip. My dad just got back from a trip, and he caught a fish. That he, right there, okay, that's what I'm talking about here. How would you sign that in ASL? You don't go, okay, my dad got back from a trip, and he, you don't sign he. Okay, so get that out of your mind. This is what you do. So this, you set people up in what you call your signing space. Okay. So if I'm talking about someone, I'm going to say my dad, and he. Okay, I'm going to point. That's my he right there. So anytime from now on in this conversation, when I'm talking about him, I'm going to go back to this point, and I'm going to point to where I've set him up here in my space. Okay, so my dad, okay, he came back from a trip, and he, I don't know, fishing, fun. He told me, again, this is the he right here. This is the pointing to this person. If, and then I could go, okay, and my mom, okay, I'm setting her up over here. She went with him, okay, and they, then all of a sudden they, you're kind of like pointing to both of them, they went together and they came back. So anything that I refer to in relation to either of them, I'm going to point to them now. This is my he, or this is my she and my he. My mom's here, my dad's here. Okay. And they, and then they, you can do it. It's kind of like this, where you have two people, like them, they, or they. They really love, they enjoy, sorry if I'm going too fast here, to go fishing together. So they. And if I wanted to go, if I'm talking to both of them, and I'd say mom told dad, go, she told him, or he told her. So again, the important thing is you just got to remember, and the hard thing is, I should say, where you've set them up. Okay, so if I put my dad over here, I can't be, okay, and then he told me, because I've already put my mom here. And so if I do this, then the person watching me that I'm communicating to is going to assume that, no, I'm talking about my mom here all of a sudden. So it's a little bit confusing, but if you can just try to slowly start to integrate this into your signing, this helps a lot. It's maybe not necessary for really quick conversation every day, but if you're getting really into a conversation with someone and you're starting to talk about different people, it's something that you're going to want to integrate into your communication. It's just part of ASL, and you're setting up your space, because all of a sudden, if I have somebody here, and all of a sudden, okay, I'm talking about maybe them and what they said to someone, I can, what this is called body shifting, almost become this person, and I'm talking to them now. And then they told me. So, because you got to remember, ASL is visual. When you're talking, you're telling a story with your body, with your hands, you're showing something. So how you set these things up and how you communicate them is important. This is especially important if you are telling a story, or if I'm interpreting scripture, for example, and let's say I have Jesus over here, and he's talking, he told the disciples over here, okay? And there's something going on here, and the disciples are listening to Jesus, and Jesus says, no, or don't do that. Whatever the story may be, the point is, and then the man comes up and approaches both of them this way. When you're telling a story, it's just really important to have all of these aspects laid out in front of you. So then you can become, if you will, step into the role of each of these people in your story. And that helps you communicate it better. It helps you just to be able to kind of bring life a little bit more to your sign, to bring that, make it more ASL, to bring it alive. Anyway, I don't want to get too confusing into that. I know it kind of can be. So if we have questions, we can talk about that later on Saturday. But another reason that you do this people space, this setting people up, when you're talking to them, is because you don't keep signing someone's name over and over. Like if I was talking about my dad, I'd say my dad, he went running, okay? He went running today. And my dad told me, or my dad likes to run. You don't keep signing the name of a person over and over and over. That is not ASL. That's not how you do it. So there's another reason why you're pointing to this person instead. He likes to run. He enjoys, I don't know, whatever. I can't think right now. But the point is, I'm not keep going. My dad said this. My dad likes that. Same thing with a title or someone's name. Their name sign, however you do that. So again, you're pointing to that person. That becomes your he, your she, your her, him, them. That's how you do that. Okay, so hopefully that was helpful and not too confusing. But we can practice again. We'll just go back to the beginning of this video, and you can review how the titles for people in your family members, the family unit, and then how you would explain that to somebody. Remember, you rank them, whether it be brothers and sisters, children, and this needs to be your dominant hand. And you go through and you explain, you say their name, you say their age, and again, don't be afraid to share some information about them, what they're doing. Oh, they live here, this is their job, this is what they do. That's the deaf culture element here I'm going to share with you. And then we talked about adding that ER to a word to make it that person. So like sinner, helper, preacher, author, it's a sign for right, author. And there's a lot of those words. So if you have any questions or can you do this to that, ask me. And then just touched in people space a little bit and how you explain or how you relate to a person when that's not the right word, when you're talking about them, how you refer to a person when you're talking to them, that pointing versus saying their title over and over again. You're pointing to them, you're setting them up in your space, and it's important to remember where you set them up in your space and that kind of thing. And those are things that just take time. So I encourage you to just start to integrate this into your signing when you talk to Jim or Mary. And yeah, we'll go from there. So I hope to see you guys all Saturday. And that's it.